I've got a friend at work who is dealing with the loss of her father. And it's kind of a big deal because, well, number one, you lose a father, especially if you loved the father and you were close to him. That's hard. That's hard for anybody to deal with, right? And so she's dealing with that. And, you know, I want to speak to her and be kind to her and gentle to her in her suffering. Because the thing is, I lost my brother back in 2018, a long time ago now, but it seems like just yesterday. And I remember that what I went through was wholly unique, to the point where I really didn't believe anybody could really understand what I was going through. And so I felt really alone. And I think that's one of the things that mourning can do, is that it isolates us, makes us feel on our own. And so when I see someone going through that, that's the last thing that I want to do. You know, I don't want to make that person feel alone. I want to make that person, especially since I've been through similar things, I want to be a help to her. Now, here's the caveat with this, right? Because I'm sure there are a lot of people who have this heart. Maybe you know someone who's lost someone close to them and you want to help them the best way you can. I just have to say, each person's mourning and suffering is different. There's a way that you need to speak into it that is sensitive and understands the situation. Because each person needs to mourn in their own way to help them understand the things they need to understand to be able to process the information. There's no such thing as moving on from something like this, right? What you do is you process through it. And the thing is, years can go by and maybe you didn't process something the right way and you got to go back. And this is one of the things that has happened to me recently. So instead of giving somebody out there sort of a how-to of how to like interact and interface with the people in our lives who are going through difficult times, I'm just going to sort of express my own issue that I had before and that I had recently. I'm not going to get too into the way that my brother passed. I will say that he was a Marine, and so he did not pass being a Marine. There was something else. As a matter of fact, I was the one to find him passed away. And so, as you can imagine, my experience of mourning was very different than even the people in my own family. I had a very unique experience that I had to work through, and I truly was alone and trying to work through it and process it. I was traumatized. And so working through not just the loss of my brother, but also trauma, was a difficult task for sure. And the thing is, what drove me more than anything was fear to process it, right? I was afraid that I would become a drain on the people who I loved, that I would become this person who would use this tragedy as an excuse to not be able to do the things in my life that I needed to do. And so to me, that was more frightening than the event itself, right? So I went after it and attacked it. Now, I got through it with that. But sometimes things in our lives, we can approach these things in our lives in a way that doesn't actually lead us to the ultimate answer, you know? And so because I had processed that with fear, I figure, hey, there are other things in my life that I can just fix if I'm afraid of the outcome. And so there's all kinds of things I did. I lost a ton of weight. I got healthy, and I got healthy because of fear. I was afraid of dying, you know? The problem with that is you live in constant fear because fear is what has got you there. So I recently recognized that I was thinking through these things incorrectly, and so I recently went back to my brother's gravesite. He is buried in a military gravesite, which, by the way, they keep pristine, and it's in a very beautiful, beautiful place. And just driving up there on my own, it's like an hour and a half away from where I live. And so it was quite the journey to get over there, just on my own. So I had a lot of time to think on the way over there. And when I got there, I remembered exactly where he was, in terms of on the plot, but in terms of where he was in relation to the other stones around him, it was hard to find him because it's a military funeral or a gravesite. So they keep adding stones. So I had to essentially walk through these stones and look for my brother's name. And as I was walking through them, I saw a bunch of names, tons of names. And I don't know about you, but when I see names like that, I always try to think of their faces, their smiles, their families. And I found it strange that I'm seeking one person out of all these other people, as if none of these other people matter, you know? But they do. Finally, I found my brother's headstone. And something about spending maybe like 15 minutes trying to find him and then finally finding him, man, I just broke down, you know? Because I found him, you know? And something happened. I realized something at that point, being in front of there. I realized that I had idolized him in my mind. I had this idea of him that was way high, that was way like unattainable, you know? But then when his stone is in front of me right there, for some reason, I started remembering him for how he truly was. And he was just a guy like me. And I recognize that I have been living my life in some ways in his shadow. And it's very easy, I think, for people who go through mourning to do that, to live their life in the light of the mourning that they've gone through or the trauma that they've been through, right? It's very easy to do that. And I think I was doing that, and it twisted the way that I saw him, you know? I saw he had a Bible verse on the headstone. And the Bible verse was, I forget the reference, but it was, on the last day, I will raise him up. Jesus at the tomb of Lazarus, right? Because Jesus rose Lazarus up. Near the tomb of Lazarus, Mary runs to him and says, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." And she collapses at his feet, and Jesus sees the way she mourns and the way the other mourners are crying, and he weeps with them. Death is not just part of life. In my experience, death is an enemy, the way that the Bible talks about it, the final enemy to be defeated. It doesn't make sense to us in our rational minds because death is just a natural part of the way the world works. But I think we know instinctually that things shouldn't be that way. And Jesus knew that too. And he wept. Even though he knew that Lazarus would be raised. And so did I. I wept, even knowing that my brother would be raised. And I wept because he wasn't there in front of me right then, you know. I'm separated from him. But the thing is, if I live my life according to my brother and his death, that means I am no longer living my life according to Jesus and his death. Jesus died and suffered so that we wouldn't have to suffer the penalty of our sin. Jesus needs that spot in our lives. We need to be living our life in the shadow of the cross of his death. And I was not. I was living in the shadow of my brother's death. And it's funny just being there, remembering him the way he truly was. He wasn't Jesus. He wasn't some God. He was a man. I just wanted to talk to him. Talk to him the way that we talked when he was alive. I missed him, but the thing is, I believe in what that Bible verse says. I will see him again. And so I have that living hope. Do you have that living hope? Thanks for listening. Bye.